Welcome into part 2 of our Fast Jazz Soloing series. This time we are going to talk about eighth notes. Once you start adding in eighth notes to your arsenal, you have a whole lot of language. You're going to hear a lot of typical bebop ideas and figures just with eighth notes. So again, just like in part 1, we're going to build it up from the very beginning. I'm not going to demonstrate every possible option because there's just so many. This video would be too long. But we're going to start with just 2 eighth notes. We're going to move it through the measure as we did before, starting on one end, moving the second note all the way across, and then we'll take that first note, starting on the end of 1. Just got to permutate across. Just like in part 1, we are at 256 BPM. The hi-hat is clicking on 2 and 4 along with the metronome. And we're going to trade 4s, so 4 bars of time, 4 bars of the idea, and then we'll move on. So that was all the 2 note placements with the first note starting on 1 and the second note going all the way through. The way I'm approaching the trades, I want to get the bass drum involved as much as possible. And I'm now kind of removing myself from any super restricted, like always going clockwise or always down the drums. Just trying to be a little bit more creative and just mix it up a little bit more without getting too crazy. So pick some themes or pick some ideas and explore those. Now let's move the 2 notes to start on the and of 1. So we'll start with 1 and 2 and then permutate. Another quick tip, if these phrases end on the and of 4, instead of having the solo section, play the end of 4 back to beat 1, just resolve it on the upbeat of 4. That's very typical. You'll hear that often, especially in Tony Williams and Philly Joe Jones, where they're resolving their solos on the upbeat. That's a good practice to try with these. So now we're going to move to 2. So the 2 notes will start on beat 2, 2 and then we'll permutate. You can hear some of these are really quite cool and offer like a little bit of displacement when you're emphasizing the 2 and the 4 instead of the 1. So that's just 2 notes starting on beat 2. I'm not going to demonstrate all the options, but do the same thing starting on the and of 2, 3, and of 3, 4, and the and of 4. So you get all the way through the whole measure with 2 notes. And then go back and do the same thing with 3 notes. So I'll just do a few examples with 3 notes. This is when it really starts to sound a lot like some familiar Max Roach, Jimmy Cobb, Philly Joe kind of vocabulary. You'd want to do the same thing with all the 3-note possibilities. Start permutating that 3rd note and then the 2nd note and then the 1st note until eventually you work through all the possible combinations of 3 notes. Do the same thing with 4 notes, 5 notes, 6 notes, 7 notes, and then 8 notes. So I would focus on 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then at that point, just improvise some 8th note solos. Trade some 4s, try to be deliberate. Keep it simple sticking, simple ideas. Don't go into combinations yet. We'll get into rudiments and all that later. But keep it singles or one-hand stuff. Get the bass drum involved. Hit those offbeats whenever it makes sense. Just experiment and have fun. See you next time.